guys, what's up? My name's Ari. Thanks for coming to my channel. Today, we're gonna do a spring reading wrap-up. I know most people do a monthly wrap-up, but I'm just starting out here and I haven't read a huge amount this spring, unfortunately, so there are just, yeah, a few here. But you know, I wanted to start this and I'm reading a lot more now, so there's gonna be more coming up. So the first two books I read were from the same series. It's a trilogy by K.B. Waggers. The first book is Behind the Throne and the second book is After the Crown. And I haven't read the third book in the series yet, but I believe it's called Beyond the Empire. I have it on my shelf in my room, but I read these two. So what I gotta say about this is basically, if you want to run down what it is, it's basically like a sci-fi sort of book, space opera sort of thing. It's about Hale Bristol. She's like a gun runner. Yeah, that's what they call her, a gun runner. And she left her home, I believe, at the age of 18. She is one of the daughters of like the king of the empire. And basically what happens in the beginning of this book, to set the scene, is that her family is being attacked. The throne is being attacked. Her family is being basically hunted down, and they're kind of being picked off. So they send out people to go find her in her gun running away from home-ness. It's like 20 years later from when she first left home. They have someone hunt her down, drag her back home, and she kind of has to step up to the plate to take her, you know, rightful place as one of the heirs to the throne. And the whole reason she left in the first place is because she didn't want to deal with all the politics and kissing ass of you know, royalty life. But yeah, she kind of has to put herself back in the mindset, but she's been, you know, away as a gun runner for 20 years. So she has all of these skills that a lot of people in the like royal court sort of thing aren't, you know, they don't normally have. So she's really kind of an asset, and a really strong character. She's also an older character, which I think is cool. She's a 34-year-old, I believe. 34, 36, something like that. So that was cool to see like an older main character kicking ass, you know? And it's not a YA novel, but it is sort of formatted like one, I want to say. But I don't think they could have like called it a YA novel because she is very freaking sassy and she swears a lot. She's got a lot of profanity in here, which honestly I loved. It was cool to hear a girl basically just be like, "Bitch, I don't want to deal with that shit you're throwing at me." That was a bad example. But anyways, you know, she's been a gun runner for 20 years. She's got a hard freaking exterior. She's not gonna put up with your bullshit. It's great. So everyone is a little bit like shocked by her because they're like, oh my god, she's just brash and like rude and doesn't get people, but it's in reality she's actually just such a necessity because she's not afraid to do some of the things that a lot of people are scared to do. But at the same time, she has to have people like her because she is going to be potentially the queen in the future. So it's like a very big like balancing act she's playing, and it's really neat to see that. Pretty full of action. The first like, I don't know, the first little bit of the book has action. It's really good. Middle, it has like tons of character development and like character relationship building, which I love seeing. And the end has some action. Good one, really liked it, gave it 4 stars. Second one, very, very slow for like the first half of the book, but it super picks up in the end half. Yeah, I was kind of getting bored though a little bit first half of the book, but it still does work on the character relationships and building them and character development, which I just super like. She has a really cool relationship with her bodyguard, which I find very neat. I love them. It's cool. The first half of this book I wanted to give like 2 stars. I was like, oh, I don't like this at all compared to the first one. But the character interactions were still interesting. It just wasn't as action-packed. The second half, oh my god, it had like more action than the first book did. So, I mean, the second half I wanted to give 4 stars too, but I just gave it 3 stars to kind of put it in the center there. So, boom, that's what this one is. Another really interesting thing about this book that I kind of like thought was neat and different was the universe, because it's a space opera, is really kind of opposite of the society that we're used to living in here. Like, instead of men being the ones who are typically in power, women are seen as, you know, the ones that are typically in power. So, you know, instead of having like the king be the one that has like the say on everything, it's the queen. And the other part of it is a lot of it is based off of culture in India, I believe. India culture. I believe the main character is Indian, and yeah, it's very based on India culture, which I found was really interesting. So yeah, got kind of a cool different thing going on there. But yeah, I do like it so far. The first book I did like a lot more than the second book's first half, but the second half of the second book really picked up and it was good. So would I recommend it? So far I would say yes. For the character relationships, if anything, and there is some good action and pew pew sci-fi gun stuff, which is pretty damn cool, guys, I would say. So yeah, I mean, check it out if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, I would say. I did enjoy them for the most part. So, moving on. The third book I read in spring, The Silent Patient, is falling apart. Not really, just sliding out. By Alex Michaelides. I probably completely butchered that. But, yeah. #1 New York Times bestseller, look at that, whoa. He is normally a script writer, I believe, for movies, obviously. So this is also not considered to be YA. It is considered to be, you know, an adult novel. Basically, the idea of this one is there was a wife and a husband, and she murdered her husband and then never spoke again. She is in a like a psych ward, and the main character heard about her on the news, and he is a psychologist of some sort. I don't remember what his title is, but he finds that there's a job opening at the like psych ward or whatever it is that she is in, and he wants to go there and find out what her story is and see if he can get her to speak again, you know, just get in her mind. So he gets hired there, and then it's all about that. It's really interesting. So it's like very psychological. Yeah, it's like a psychological thriller, I guess I'd call it, yeah. What I found kind of funny was how short it actually is. It has 323 pages, but, let me just show you here, hang on, let's see. If the chapter ends, oh my gosh, it keeps sliding out of the, if the chapter ends on the right side, if you turn the page, the next page is completely blank for the whole book. So it's 100 and whatever I said, 23 pages long, minus all the numerous blank pages. Oh my gosh, I can't even find it. Where's the numerous blank pages throughout. There's another one. Throughout the book, there's a lot of blank pages in this book, which I found kind of funny. I felt like that was kind of to make it a little thicker, but I might be wrong. Anyways, regardless of the length, I did enjoy this book a lot. It definitely has a really good twist at the end. I've seen that a lot of people DNF'd this, or not a lot of people, I've seen a couple people that I like DNF'd this, but they DNF'd it like 80% done, and I feel like that's when the twist like really comes in. So don't DNF it 80% in, because it gets good. I mean, I honestly find the whole thing really interesting, because a lot of it is about, you know, this lady, it's the silent patient, and the whole mystery of it is why, after she, you know, killed her husband, why did she just stop speaking completely? And I really like it because there's a, let me find the thing I highlighted in here. There it is. So I found this really interesting because I'm very interested in like mental health and stuff. You know, I deal with my own mental health problems, and I know a lot of other people do, and I just find it interesting. And so she was an artist. She's a painter, and this is a quote from the book that says, "The purpose of art therapy is to get the patients drawing and painting, and more important, talking about their artwork, linking it to their emotional state. It's a great way to literally get their unconscious onto the page where it can be thought about and talked about." So I just found the psychology of the story of the characters in this book very interesting. So if you are into that sort of thing, totally go for this. I read this in like, I want to say like 3 days or something. It was really fast. It was a really fast read for me, and I enjoyed it. And there's a lot of stuff throughout it that, you know, it's like you link back. You're like, oh God, that was a thing. I don't know. Oh my god. I throw my books across the room. That's what I do here. This is a good book. I would recommend. Next book. My Sister Rosa by Justine Larbalestier. I probably butchered that too. But anyways, this is another kind of psychological based book. Psychology based book. It is about Rosa, the main character's sister, and she is a psychopath. Basically, the main character sees himself as having to kind of protect the world from Rosa, try to talk to Rosa, and explain to her why she needs to not do the things that she does. I mean, it says right here on the top of the back here, she hasn't hurt anyone yet. It's good. It was a finalist for the 2017 Edgar and Anthony Awards, so I mean, it's good. The author is Australian, so some of the words in here are kind of interesting. Like, instead of ass, they'll say arse, and instead of water fountain, what do they say, bubbler or something? Bubbler? Yeah. They use different words for things, which I just kind of found interesting. And then once again, I also found the psychology of it very interesting. What also makes it interesting is the main character is wanting to be some sort of doctor. So he kind of is very aware of like psychological like illnesses and stuff, mental illnesses. So a lot of the narrative is from him, the inner narrative of him. So here's another one. Let's see. Unlike most other humans, almost nothing came naturally. All the things humans do with each other and in response to one another, Rosa was slow to acquire. She was more intrigued than dismayed by cuts or bruises or illnesses. I mean, it's very interesting because it does kind of go in depth into like, how does a psychopath's mind work? What is it that they, how do they think? How do they view the world? That sort of thing. And terrible things ensue. I won't really get into it because that would give stuff away, but My Sister Rosa. I enjoyed this one as well. Yeah, I would recommend it if you're into kind of like creepy, sort of messed up things. Alright, next book I got is The Troop by Nick Cutter. A huge reason why I picked this one up is because of Gabby Reads, so if you see this, Gabby, I love you. You're awesome. Nick Cutter. Nick Cutter, I don't believe is his actual name, but that is the name that he goes by for his books. Yeah. So he's Canadian. It takes place in Canada. On an island in Canada, it's about a troop, like Boy Scouts sort of thing, who goes to this island once a year with their scoutmaster, and a horrible thing happens. Basically, I don't want to give anything away, but some guy comes to the island and he's sick with something, and oh man, it's filled with body horror, guys. Let me just read the summary on the back so you can get a better description of what this is without spoilers. Once a year, Scoutmaster Tim Riggs leads his troop of boys into the Canadian wilderness for a weekend camping trip. A tradition as comforting and reliable as a good ghost story around the roaring bonfire. And when an unexpected intruder stumbles upon their campsite, shockingly thin, disturbingly pale, and voraciously hungry, Tim and the boys are exposed to something far more frightening than any tale of terror. The human carrier of a bioengineered nightmare, a horror that spreads faster than fear, a harrowing struggle for survival with no escape from the elements, the infected, or one another. So when I was reading this, I actually got like huge Lord of the Flies vibe. It's nothing like Lord of the Flies, but he does actually quote, he has a quote at the beginning of it from Lord of the Flies, which got me thinking about it and realizing there were some similarities. The quote is, "This head is for the beast, it's a gift." You know, William Golding, Lord of the Flies. The big thing that I can compare with this to Lord of the Flies is kind of the fall of structure, like fall of social structure. Because, you know, there's certain boys in the troop that want to be like the head, you know, once things start going to shit, they're like, someone's got to be the leader, you know, that sort of thing. The Lord of the Flies vibes kind of die a little bit, like, throughout, like, once the book, you know, continues, but it's still there. And then he, in his acknowledgements, he was super inspired, apparently, by Stephen King and Carrie, the way that Carrie was like formatted. So I found that interesting. I really enjoyed Carrie when I read it too. So it was neat to hear that this was very much inspired by Stephen King, which I love. Yeah, so The Troop, it's really good. Full of body horror, bioengineered, creepy shit. Don't want to give anything away, but this is truly probably the grossest book I've ever read. Once again, it's dealing with some psychology stuff, some mental illness stuff as well, which I also just really like. I found that kind of funny because I read it right after my sister Rosa, dealing with, you know, the psychopath sister. There is a psychopath character in here too. So I just kind of found that funny, that it's like, okay, I just finished reading this book like specifically about a psychopathic sister you have, and now there's a psychopathic friend in this book. So that's interesting. He causes some issues. And then we have another character. My favorite character was dealing with some issues as well. He was talking about like how he went to his therapist and stuff. I don't know. This is really good. This is a good book about, I didn't mention this as well. Character relationships are a big thing in this book too, which I super appreciated as well. You really kind of get into the minds of the boys, and it's really cool. So that's another reason to read it, I guess, if you're into that sort of stuff too. I heard some other booktubers saying if you're an animal lover and you don't like to see violence towards animals or whatever, might not be for you. I really like throwing my books today, guys. Might not be for you, but at the beginning I was kind of wondering, why would you say that? I don't really see that. There's some animal violence in this book. It happens. Yeah, it is very descriptive though. In one of the scenes, there is an animal that is, it's bad. It's bad. It was actually the most upsetting part of the book for me because I am an animal lover. However, you know, I put up with it because I do really like horror and I like nasty, gross things and creepy shit. So I did put up with it, and they made up for it. They did make up for that one bad scene. If you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I might actually even do a video that kind of goes through this book in detail because I did really enjoy it. So if you don't want to read it, keep a lookout for that, and I'll just pretty much go through the whole book and talk about stuff. And if you did read it, hey, we can discuss stuff, which would be cool. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. The Troop is really good. If you like gross, creepy, body horror, just nasty, this is good. This is for you. Do it. Do it. Do it. Alrighty, so I actually forgot about the very first book I read. And that's because it was kind of a letdown for me. It breaks my heart, honestly. Pet Sematary. Stephen King's well-known Pet Sematary. I give this 2 stars. I wanted to love this so freaking bad, okay? I can't even explain how much I wanted to really love this. I'd been putting off watching the original movie and the new one because I wanted to read this book first. I gotta say, it just didn't do it for me. It's a pretty long book. And it was very slow. It was just such a slow read for me. I even like listened to the audiobooks for part of it, and it just wasn't really, it didn't resonate, man. It just didn't. I love animals, like I just said. You know, nothing really bad happens to animals. I mean, it does, but I just don't really want to talk about this. I'm just sad. I'm just sad. For those of you who like this, I'm really glad you liked it. I'm just so disappointed that I didn't like it. I love you, Stephen King, but Pet Sematary just did not do it for me. I'm just sad. That's all I gotta say about this one. So that's it for this video. I'm hoping that I can get it up before summer starts on the 21st. Ideally, I'll get it up tomorrow on the 20th, but we'll see what happens. And then I will be uploading a summer TBR or a month TBR. I'm not really sure yet. I'll figure it out. But keep an eye out for that, guys. And then I have to do a Booktube Newbie Tag video as well. So I have stuff to do and I'm excited. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. But for now, see y'all later and peace out.